Hi folks, thank you for checking out the video today. I certainly appreciate you taking time out of your day to spend a little time with me. Again, my name is Mike, and today I would like to talk to you about this subject: beware of the preacher. Folks, if you like these videos that you're watching, if you're being helped from it, encouraged from it, if you would consider hit that little thumbs up button and also subscribing, and please share with someone here today. So today I want to talk to you about the subject: beware of the preacher. So like always, I like to go right to the Bible. So we'll go to Romans chapter 2, and we'll be reading verses 17 through 22 today. It says, "Behold, thou art called a Jew, and restest in the law, and makest thy boast of God, and knowest his will, and approvest the things that are more excellent, being instructed out of the law. And art confident that thou thyself art a guide of the blind, a light of them which are in the darkness, an instructor of the foolish, a teacher of babes, which hast the form of knowledge and of the truth in the law." I want to pause there for 1 second. I live in the Bible Belt of America, and you can pretty much turn any corner and there's a church there. But I have to warn you, not all churches will teach the truth. There are many so-called preachers today who do not practice and teach what the Bible truly says. And so we must guard ourselves. We must be on guard for the false teachers in this world. There are many of them. In fact, it seems to be more and more. There are more false teachers now than ever before. People are willing to water down, to change the message of God in order to be approved by men, rather than be approved by God. I'd rather be approved by God and only be liked by a few than to be loved by many and be out of the will of God. And that's a dangerous place that so many people have been before. If you went to the bank and you were to give your money to someone there at the bank, and they were to invest your money very wisely, if they were out to just gain money for themselves, you would probably move your money somewhere else to where somebody who actually cares about you and your future and your finances, and you would want to invest your money in someone who knows how to properly invest your money without trying to take everything you have. And so if you're that way with your money, how much more important is it with our souls that we entrust to the preachers of the church today? A preacher is supposed to be a guardian over your soul, to make sure you're taking good care of your soul. A good pastor is one who's supposed to teach you the truth, is supposed to guide you in the truth, but also live by the truth and set good examples for everyone to follow. If you have a good pastor, please pray for your pastor, and I ask that you stand behind your pastor, that you encourage your pastor. Every day it's a battle. The devil has a target on those who preach the gospel of Christ, and he wants to do nothing more than tear them and their families down. And we need to recognize that and encourage them. But there are some things you need to be aware of when it comes to the pastor or preacher at perhaps your church or a church you've been in, or maybe you're getting ready to check out a church. These are maybe some guidelines you can use to evaluate that church. So in verses number 21 and 22 of Romans chapter 2, it says this: "Thou therefore which teachest another, teachest thou not thyself? That thou preachest a man should not steal, dost thou steal? Thou that sayest a man should not commit adultery, dost thou commit adultery? Thou that abhorrest idols, dost thou commit sacrilege?" And that's one of the keys there is, if you need to practice what you preach. If you're a pastor or your preacher is not practicing what they preach, then that is a telltale sign that there may be an issue there. Of course, we all make mistakes. We all are capable of sin ourselves as preachers, as pastors, and we need to be, shown that sometimes. And we do make mistakes, but we need to be willing to confess those sins and get right with God. Ask for the forgiveness of whoever is involved, and set an example by admitting, hey, we're wrong. With my kids, I feel like some of the most important lessons they've learned is not by the times that I've been right and proved them wrong, but more how I've handled myself when I myself am wrong as a parent and I go to them and say, look, will you please forgive me? I am sorry I messed up. I'm not a perfect example. Jesus Christ is the only perfect example. But we need to, as preachers, as pastors, be leading that way in our churches also, and know that we are just as susceptible to these things as anybody else. And then when we do have sin in our life, to confess it and get it out as quickly as possible. And we'll see another reason why here in a second. But before we continue on, I want to just kind of make another point. So Matthew chapter 7, verses 15 through 21. Actually, 15 through 23. I'm going to read those very quickly. And it's talking about evaluating to see if they're a false prophet or a false teacher or not. It says, beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Notice they come to you in sheep's clothing. They want to look good on the outside, but it's what's on the inside that counts. Ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore, by their fruits ye shall know them. And so that's talking about evaluating their lives to see if they're really who they say they are they living, are they practicing what they preach. Not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father, which is in heaven. There's an action there. Love is an action word, and it must be shown in action. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name, and in thy name have cast out devils, and in thy name done many wonderful works? And then I'll profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity. You can do things good on the outside, but on the inside, if it's with the wrong intentions or whatever else, it's still sin. And we need to make sure that we evaluate even our leaders correctly. By the way, if you are trying to get the qualifications of a pastor, if you turn over to 1 Timothy chapter 3, you can see the qualifications of a pastor. And God does not change. He's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. If God was to change, that means he was wrong. God's never wrong. People nowadays say, well, that's how we used to do church, or how we used to look at the pastors in the church, but now we look at it differently. Well, you might be looking at it differently, but God never changed his standard. His standard is still the same. And by the way, I just wanted to say this is probably going to make some people angry, but I want to go ahead and tell you the truth. The Bible does not teach that women are allowed to pastor a church. That is not a qualification. How can a woman be the husband of one wife? It's impossible. And when you look at the qualifications, they must be the husband of one wife. That is impossible. We need to quit watering down God's words and just say, God said it and I stand behind it, I believe it. And we need to stop trying to just be acceptable of other things. That's what's happening in the pulpit now. We have compromised the pulpits in the church, and we need to stop doing that. No wonder God's not blessing our work. We're not being obedient to him. Let's get back to what he wants us to do. So I want to finish out Romans chapter 2, and I want to read the last two verses, verses 23 and verses 24. And it gives you what's going on here. So we went through, and it says if you sin, if you preach against sin, and do you sin? Now look at verse number 23. Thou that makest thy boast of the law, through breaking the law, dishonorest thou God. You're dishonoring God when you stand in the pulpit and you preach the gospel and you preach the message that you shouldn't sin, and we go out and do it ourselves. That is dishonoring God. But not only that, but look at verse number 24. For the name of God is blasphemed among the Gentiles, those who are not saved, through you, as it is written. You are blaspheming God when you're going around sinning and not practicing what you preach, when you're being a hypocrite. What is the thing that keeps most people out of churches today? It's people being hypocrites. You say one thing, but you don't live it. Folks, we have to practice what we preach. And it goes back to examining ourselves. And remember David, when he said, Lord, examine my heart and see if there's any wickedness in it so I can confess it and get it out. I want to be as close to you as I possibly can. And if we draw near to God, he'll draw near to us. And when we're close with God, we'll experience God's power in our lives. Folks, if you're not going to a church, if your pastor or leaders are not practicing as they should, first of all, you should go to them and tell them, say, look, this is what the Bible says, and this is what's going on, and talk about it in a loving way, and hopefully they'll confess. If they don't confess, then the right way is to come back with 2 or 3 as witnesses, and then call them before the whole church. But sometimes your church is they're just fine compromising God's word, and if that's the case, it's time to find a new church, folks. And remember, they're guarding after your soul. Be so careful about who is helping keep watch over your soul. It's so precious, and one day we're going to present it to Jesus Christ. And I want to present it in the best shape I possibly can, because I don't want to blaspheme his name. I want to take care of my reputation, and I want you guys to also. Folks, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, please hit that thumbs up button and subscribe, and please share this with someone else. I hope you have a wonderful day, and God bless.